Please welcome to the stage His Excellency Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al-Thani, Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of the State of Qatar, for a conversation with Bloomberg's Francine Lacqua.
Prime Minister, thank you so much for your address. Thank you so much also for being here. I'm looking forward to talking about some of the opportunities and some of course, the things that you'll do economically, but I think we really need to start with the conflict in the region. Qatar has really played a crucial and active role in negotiations between Hamas and Israel since October 7th. How are those negotiations going?
Well, it's been actually a very long process, and especially in the past few weeks, we have seen some momentum building, but unfortunately, things didn't move in the right direction. And right now, we are in a status of almost a stalemate. Of course, what happened with Rafah has set us backward a little bit. I think, you know, there are a lot who are not understanding the nature of this conflict and mediation, and there is a lot of misconception about it. Because if we will look at it, when there are two parties who want to agree on something, you need to agree on the baseline, first of all. And I believe that what we are seeing, there is a fundamental difference between the two parties. There is one party who wants to end the war and then talk about the hostages. There is another party who wants the hostages and wants to continue the war. And as long as there is any commonality between those two things, it won't get us to a result. I believe it's very important for all of us right now to see what's happening with all this destruction that's happened in Gaza. Enough is enough. We need to stop the war. We need to focus on the future. What's the catastrophe in Gaza, actually, if you look at it, most of the reports saying that it will need 40 to 50 billion to rebuild it until 2040. So the amount of destruction, we didn't see much of it. Only what we see on screens probably will not represent more than 10-20% of what's really there happening. And of course, you know, adding to this the risks of the spillover of the war, and we have seen, you know, the region became a very turbulent region, whether it's on the Red Sea, in Lebanon, and this risk is just going to increase as long as the war is ongoing.
But, Prime Minister, more immediately, do you see any silver lining? And how does the current fighting completely stop?
Well, we believe that the best way for us, that's what we'll be calling for, that to reach an agreement where we recognize that the ceasefire is required now. We need to stop the killing. We need to stop this atrocities that's happening. And of course, to negotiate a deal for the hostages. I think that if those two elements aligned, we believe we can have a deal, you know, in just in a matter of days. But as I mentioned to you, probably there is no clarity how to stop the war from the Israeli side. I don't think that they are considering this as an option. And there is also, you know, unfortunately, like a stereotype, even when we are talking about a deal and leading to a potential ceasefire, a lot of politicians are, you know, retracting us by their statements that they will remain there, they will continue the war, and there is no clarity on what Gaza will look like after this.
So there's not much hope there.
Well, I'm always hopeful, so I cannot say that there is no much hope. Of course, we will keep trying, we will keep pushing, but it's at the hands of the parties at the end of the day. Once they are willing, they will find us helping and facilitating and bridging the gaps.
Do you see Qatar as continuing having a role in these negotiations?
Well, we didn't stop. We had actually some challenges in the past few weeks. We did a reassessment of the attitude as well. I mean, also we didn't want to be used or abused as a mediator. And to make it very clear for everyone, our job is limited to our mediation role. That's what we will do. That's what we will continue to do. Of course, whenever we are needed, we are stepping up. We were needed in the last 2 weeks in helping in the negotiations, and I believe we made a very good progress in the last round.
Prime Minister, there has also been talk about Qatar asking Hamas leaders that reside in Doha to leave. What's your country's stance on this?
Well, there is actually, there are a lot of speculations about this. And basically, if we look at this specific issue, we need just, to understand the backgrounds. When Hamas started their presence here in Doha back in 2012, it was for a reason. It was to serve as a political office for them to create a communication channel between them, the Israelis, the Americans, everyone. And this channel proven to be effective. I mean, if you look at different conflicts from 2014 all the way until now, this office played a key role in it, including the hostage release that unfortunately a lot of politicians have forgotten. Around 109 hostages been released because of the mediation that's been facilitated and mediated by Qatar. And it was the only hostage release that happened throughout the war, not by the military action or not by pressuring or doing so. And we believe that as long as the war is ongoing and there is a need for the communication, there is nothing to be entertained in that area. Our view here in Qatar that we need to be, accessed for different parties to resolve conflicts. We are not parties of the conflict. Like our principles, our policies in support of the Palestinian people will never change. Our policy in having a two-state solution will never change, and nothing will compromise it. And as long as we are, having the capability to be helpful, we will do it. We did that between Afghanistan, between Taliban and the US. We did that between different parties in Lebanon, in Sudan, and others. And that's basically the core of our foreign policy. It's been built based on mediation, on trying to help in resolving conflicts between the party. There are countries or people might not like it, but we don't ask everyone to like it, just to understand it.
But Prime Minister, and you allude to this, there was wide regional consensus, right, behind the events that led actually to Hamas relocating to Doha, including the US. Do you see those dynamics changing?
We don't see any change. Right now, everyone is focused on the current mediation. Everyone is focused on how to get to a result to end the war and to get the hostages back.
So on the rebuilding, under what circumstances would Qatar contribute to the rebuilding of Gaza?
This is actually, it's still a premature question because no one is talking about the day after from our perspective in a realistic manner. There are multiple views you are hearing here and there. We believe in one Palestinian government that should be in charge of West Bank and Gaza. And this Palestinian government should be built on consensus between the Palestinians and to lead the transition of the country. Whether this will be allowed by the Israelis, and we have seen the statements by the Israeli government that they don't want the PA even to be there. And I think that if we will end the war in a state where the country is destroyed, no vision for it, no vision for the PA to go in, it will be very difficult not only for Qatar, but for the rest of the world to step in and to invest in unknown. That will remain a challenge. So we always encourage, and we are working together with our Arab partner, what we call it the Committee of Six Arabs, and the US, in order to try to think about what's the best way to transition to the day after in a way that will not actually affect the Palestinian people, will not affect the Palestinian cause, and will not undermine the Palestinian Authority.
Prime Minister, can you touch on some of the investment plans actually for Qatar? Are there any regions or actually sectors that you find particularly exciting right now?
Well, we are very much, actually, our focus in terms of the Sovereign Wealth Fund and the investment that we are investing internationally, it continues following the strategy of diversification, which is mainly we invest in everywhere in the world where there will be a high return. We ensure that the balance is struck within the portfolio. Of course, US has been, in the last few years, one of our main markets. Asia is an interesting market for us, and we have invested over there, but also we are exploring new opportunities, but also trying to expand to new emerging markets like Central Asian region and Africa as well. Our focus is, as you know, Sovereign Wealth Fund, it's for future generations. So we wanted to make sure that these investments are not high in risk, ensuring the stability of the jurisdiction where we are investing, and ensuring the sustainable income. On a local front, we just launched our National Development Strategy 3, which is, we see it as like the last mile toward achieving Vision 2030. And if you will think about it from perspective where Qatar, in the last 25 years, focusing on building energy infrastructure, then the hard infrastructure preparation for the World Cup, now is the moment to capitalize on all what's been built. And what's really at the center of this strategy, focusing on human capital and all the investment that we have done in education and the human capital that Qatar have right now, unleashing their potential, opening up opportunities for the private sector, government to step back from a lot of things, and to just remain as a regulator, creating, there is a significant incentive schemes that will be created to encourage private sector and foreign direct investment, focusing on areas of manufacturing, logistics, RRC, and tourism, ICT, financial services. Of course, there are a couple of sectors which are prerequisite, which is the healthcare and the education, and we have already made very good progress in investing in the infrastructure. Of course, the healthcare has more potential to improve the economic side of the healthcare, which is basically research and development, and hopefully pharmaceutical industry in the future.
But we talk a lot about AI and semiconductors.
Yeah.
Is there anything of interest in that industry?
Well, actually, right now we went through a review for the last year. Where can we position ourselves? And we believe that AI world is a big world, and it will need a lot of investment to come in, whether it's on the infrastructure or on the application side. Now, our focus here in Qatar is how to become more complementing for other countries in the region as well, because there are ambitious plans also taking place in UAE, for example, in Saudi Arabia. And we are focused in some verticals where we have already created the national champions, and how to enhance those national champions and take them to the next level by using artificial intelligence. And of course, on the infrastructure side, there is already some infrastructure being built, and now we are moving on to expand it and to grant part of it for the research element. Of course, the education institutions are very important, so that's why there are AI programs started in different universities here in Qatar. And last but not least, that what I've just mentioned in the speech, the Arabic large language model, which is for the first time, this is something that we are just launching. It's called Fanar, where we will, have a system that will be fed by the Arabic language and also the values and the Arabic culture, because we see there is a huge potential in the Arab market where application developer and others can come in and can use it for their development.
And Prime Minister, you mentioned Saudi Arabia. Have the Saudis, do they want Qatari investment for their Vision 2030? Have you provided any, or will you?
Well, we've been doing a lot of things collaboratively, actually. We have invested in a few opportunities over there in Saudi, and of course the Saudi market is a big market, very important market for our businesses as well here, and we've seen there is an increased interest in Qatari companies to go there also and to do some businesses over there. And look, I think that, when we look at ourselves here, we look at ourselves, Qatar, Saudi, UAE, others. But when the world is looking at us, they look at the GCC as one unit. And you will see someone who's coming and visiting Qatar, the next day he will be in Abu Dhabi, the third day he will be in Kuwait or in Riyadh. And the same thing, it's happening. So whatever any country will do, the other countries will have an indirect benefit to it. And I think that there is a huge potential, and right now we are very much connected in the connectivity between the countries. So this will also ease the trade and the business together.
Prime Minister, do you worry that economic uncertainty makes it more difficult to attract capital to the region and to Qatar? The various US, China, for example, difficulties.
Well, it's a challenge, but I believe for us in the region, it's an opportunity. I think that there are a lot of, we see a lot of interest coming from the US, a lot of interest even coming from China. And I mean, as we are brokering peace, we hope brokering peace in the economy here.
The one thing that everyone's looking to is, of course, the US election. What kind of policies would you prefer? Is it easier to deal with a Republican president or a Democratic president?
Well, honestly, it doesn't make any difference. We have built a very long relationship with the institution over there, and despite the presidency, this is the US system. So we should expect one time a Republican and the other time a Democrat, and it's fine. I mean, the institutional relationship is the key, and it's the cornerstone for the relationship between our two countries.
In terms of the policies, do you expect, I mean, they're very different.
There are differences, but relates to the Middle East, we don't see much difference, honestly. And we have seen that we worked with President Trump during his administration, and there were approach for some regional issues where we have our point of view. We discuss it with them. They listen, they change sometimes not. And we respect. And the other, with President Biden as well, we are working with them very closely. And I'm sure you have seen what's happened. In Afghanistan deal happened during Trump administration. Then President Biden, we did with him the evacuation and all the transition after this. We are doing together right now the ceasefire in Gaza, but also other areas. And I think we are working very well with everyone.
Prime Minister, we talked a lot about volatility and some of the challenges and some of the opportunities. What gives you the most hope for the next 12 months?
Well, actually, first of all, it's when you look at the pyramids of needs, you need security. And as long as this war is ongoing, regional security will be threatened. And we will have, it will be very much unpredictable. So that's why even Qatar now, currently the president of GCC, the theme of this year, we were very much focused on getting all GCC partners to think about what is the best regional security framework that we can work together with in order to ensure the security and the stability of our region. What's really worrying me is, you know, the escalation of the war, the continuation, plus the uncertainty of some of the politicians just to continue the war without having any direction where to go or what to do. And that will just put us at risk of, you know, spilling over. But also, post the war, actually, even if the war stopped and there is no rescue plan for Gaza, I think the problem will be bigger. And in the medium term, we are very much worried after all these images to see like another wave of radicalization. So security is the key for us in the region. We need to preserve it as much as possible.
Prime Minister, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you.